Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason. I'm speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. Do another video today. This time I'm going down my rankings of my list of 100 favorite albums of all time. I'm at now number 54 on my list, so almost halfway through my list. Um, and this is a big one, I think, pretty popular album. It's called Led Zeppelin 2 by the band Led Zeppelin. They weren't very creative with their names. All their album names for a while is Led Zeppelin, Led Zeppelin 2, 3. And after Led Zeppelin 4, they started, like, there's House of the Holy, I think, and it's Graffiti, I think, one of them. So they changed they come with some different names, but at first they just were Led Zeppelin, whatever. I think Chicago did the same thing. This album came out in 1969. It's their second studio album, of course, Led Zeppelin 2. There's only 9 songs on the album, so not a real long album. It charted number 1 in the UK and in the US, and was 12 times platinum, so extremely popular album. Did very well when it came out. It sold tons of records. I think it was the first really big one. Led Zeppelin, some people put it high on their list. I'm not as big on Led Zeppelin, the first album. I think this is definitely was a major improvement to the first album, and it's an iconic album. It has so many great, legendary songs of Led Zeppelin. And for me, Led Zeppelin, I don't know what you call Led Zeppelin. To me, I call them hard rock, and I would say they're probably the best hard rock band of all time. I mean, when you consider the guitar riffs, and guitar solos, and the drumming and the bass playing, instrumentally, I mean, it's just amazing what they can do. And then Robert Plant's vocals are incredible and are so great for this type of music. I don't really listen to the lyrics as much. To me, it's just about listening to the music and just being in the groove of that rock and music, and just really rocking your head and just going, oh yeah. You know, Jimmy Page, definitely one of the greatest guitars of all, as far as rock and roll guitarists of all time. I think many put Jimi Hendrix number 1, Jimmy Page number 2, and I would agree that would probably be my list. So amazing with his, especially his guitar riffs at the beginning of songs. They're so iconic, so memorable. As soon as you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, because sometimes I'll listen to Led Zeppelin like album like this, and I don't really recognize the song until it comes on. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that riff. That's a great guitar riff. I've heard that before. But there's full of them. Many consider it the heaviest Led Zeppelin album of all their albums, and it's also considered the quintessential heavy metal album. So if you like hard rock, this is like one of the go-to albums to go to. It's number 123 in Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums. So enough said, it's one of the greats, and for good reason. It's just, like I said, just one great rock solo and rock riff after another. Yeah, they were the best at it, I think. If you don't know the band, you got John Bonham at drums, which I believe has passed away. John Paul Jones, bass guitar. Jimmy Page, lead guitar. And then Robert Plant, lead vocals. Like I said, I love how the album begins with a whole lot of love. And it's like the best opening to an album I've ever heard, maybe. It just really sets the tone for the album and just gets your heart pumping. I mean, once you hear that opening riff, your heart just boom, boom, boom. Your heart just starts beating with the music, and your head starts like, yeah, rocking. You're like, yes, yes. I mean, it's just amazing. I just love the opening of that song. But Whole Lot of Love, of course, their biggest hit, probably off this album. But also, What Is and What Should Never Be, Heartbreaker, Living, Loving Maid, and Ramble On, all great Led Zeppelin songs. So, I mean, there's multiple Led Zeppelin songs that they played a lot on the radio that I grew up kind of listening to on the radio. So very familiar with a lot of the songs. And only 9 songs, like I said, and like 5 of them are very memorable songs. So half the album are big hit songs, in my opinion. So that's why, yeah, definitely one of the great albums. So my top 3 favorite songs on here, obviously they're going to be the most likely big hits on here. Number 3, I put Heartbreaker, just because the guitar solo is one of the greatest guitar solos I've ever heard. I love listening to the song just for that guitar solo. But yeah, the overall guitar work is just amazing in the song. Big hit. Number two, I'm gonna put "What Is and What Should Never Be." Interesting title for a song. Pretty long title, but I like this one because it starts off kind of soft. I love Robert Plant's vocals, and it's little. Uh, it's not heavy on guitar or anything at the beginning, the verses, I should say. Then once you get in the chorus, all of a sudden the guitar comes in and the drums start beating harder and the bass comes in, and it just gets a little more rocky. And I just love the guitars when it come in, and then it goes to the verses, and I was trying to say it's almost more laid back in the verses, and then hard rock in the chorus. And I love that contrast between the two. I love when you start something soft, and then when you hit those guitars, hit hard. I mean, it just really affects you in a great way, and I love that about that song. Number one, I already mentioned "Whole Lot of Love." I think one of the great rock songs of all time. I think probably my favorite guitar riff of all time. Like I already did at the beginning, that first guitar riff that begins that song just gets you going throughout. There's kind of a weird middle part I don't like as much, but once the guitar comes back in after the middle part, it kind of goes off the rails from the kind of the main part of the song, and but then the guitars come back in and it's just amazing. But yeah, just a real great catchy song that is so fun to rock to. So that's why I got "Whole Lot of Love" number one. Like I said, "Living, Loving May," "Ramble On" were kind of honorable mentions. Two other great songs, but yeah, it's definitely got to listen to if you like rock and roll, and one of the best Led Zeppelin albums, in my opinion. So anyway, so that's number 54 on my list, Led Zeppelin 2. And so, again, thank you for watching this video, and thank you for liking it. And I just really appreciate everything, and just really appreciate the subscribers for supporting the channel. Really appreciate all of you. I just hope you have a good day.